cutting that shit short today. This guy's a man of the people. We're going to maximize all our possible time that we can get with him. You know him. He's the reason you're here. The deposit king, the thought leader, the value hound. Shout out from the fanboys over here. A chaser of ships, the 101 influencer, the ASMR coffee pourer, the definitive #1 supporter of pickleball in your local community. Best ball breakfast, splash play, lulls, ship chasing, jams out with Matthew Berry in the newsletter. Like and subscribe below. But most importantly, the co-manager of Nez's FFPC main event team, Mr. Pete Overzet. Thank you so much for being here today.
Look at you guys. Yeah, no, I feel like this is going to be my greatest credit of all. I see the Underdog account featuring you guys. I mean, what a glow up for the Badge Bros. By the way, do I get royalties on that name? Because I battled you guys all summer in my drafts, and now I guess I'm reaching across the aisle here.
It's actually disgusting that you bring that up, because like when we first came up with the name, it was Nez's idea, and he's like, yo, Pete's just been calling us this forever. Like, let's just roll with it. So I mean, to be straight, probably.
It was an alley-oop. And we took it home.
Oh,
there you go.
That's good. Overarching thoughts so far, Pete, this calendar year, have you been diving into these BRs on a weekly basis? Have you been getting, maximum entries, or have you been looking in the 20 range? What have you been doing with the BR contests?
Yeah, I've been doing, I would say about 15 of them a week. Normally kind of what happens is, on Friday is like my big DFS, like research moving day. I do my show with Jam to Win from 1 week season. I'm looking at updated projections. And then that's where I kind of feel comfortable going in and starting to rip those. I know I am missing out on some early value in the week that you value hounds are able to get. But that's when I feel like I have a good grip on the slate. And then once you pop, like normally I do most of mine all in one setting. Like it'll be 15 in a row. I'm not like good at being like, oh, I'll do a couple tonight and a couple Saturdays. It's like, no, we're going to rip a bunch of drafts in a row.
They're so easy to just binge. I mean, I do them now. It's my new Underdog cardio club. Like whenever I was doing best ball, like puppy drafts or BBMs on the Stairmaster, now it's just like, okay, 10 easy battle royales. Like it's nothing. That's just kind of how I get the feel for the slate. I don't even expect those to cash me. I just want to know how things are moving.
No, I'm glad you said that too, because I did some on the Stairmaster the other day at the gym, and I was like, we need to bring back some version of Underdog Cardio Club for Battle Royale. But you need they go so fast. You need to do like 4 or 5 of them to get.
Yeah. If you want anything, you really got to earn it.
Yeah, but I don't know if you guys know this, but it's bulk season right now. I mean, the cut is out. It's bulk season right now. Like maybe we weightlifting club in between sets, draft in between sets. Yeah,
I tell myself that, and then I'm like, I'm done lifting, man. Let me hit the cardio machine so I can draft instead. It's such an easy distraction.
I think bulking season is just like the biggest psyops excuse from guys who just want excuses to be able to drink and eat whatever they want while still sounding like they work out.
100%.
Peak football season. Peak football season is like, yeah, I'm doing chest day Monday, Wednesday, and on Thursday and Sundays I'm crushing beers.
Yeah, my wife was away this weekend and I had a whole Domino's pizza to myself. But before that, I was like, man, I got to hit the gym so hard to make this work.
No, you eat the Domino's pizza and then you just tell people, oh no, it's bulk season, man. I just haven't been getting enough calories.
No, I went crazy. It's 20% off menu prices. I'm not going to give too much of a promo. Big Domino head over here, but it was fantastic.
Hey, no free ads.
Oh yeah. Sorry, cut that. Yeah. We'll cut that.
Oh man, this is good. Pete, just with you on a personal level, now doing the fantasy life stuff, you're doing multiple shows a week, you're on XM, Sirius Radio, all this sort of stuff that's going on in your life. Did you ever expect like the growth of this industry to push you this far, push this direction for you?
I mean, definitely. Like I always, I'm not afraid to do stuff in like niche things. If I enjoy it, like I don't really care what the like quote unquote ceiling is for popularity or whatever. And I would honestly say like the best ball explosion even surprised me. I thought, oh, this will be this niche thing. Hey, I love it. That's enough for me. And then to see how much it exploded this summer, to see the momentum carry into these battle royale drafts and other contests, to see like we now like even as I could put it back on you guys. Could you ever envision there being the hunger and thirst to even have the audience that could support a show like this, and people are eating this shit up. So I'm completely pleasantly surprised about where we've come. And now it's like, man, where can we go? Because this can certainly get much bigger.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that line of thinking. And just to see over, basically it's been 2.5 years, right? And we've gone from 2 million up front in these, and now we're having a puppy every single week in these BRs, right?
Man.
Like, it's like, okay, yeah. And across multiple sports while still filling Best Ball Resurrection in the mid-season. I mean, I can't envision myself playing season-long fantasy much longer. Like, just
I can't envision myself playing DFS much longer. I mean, if I keep getting dusted, I might need to come over full battle royales.
I've noticed a couple snowflakes. I've noticed a couple snowflakes on your stream recently.
John won a listener league like early. Was it week 1 or week 2? And it was a huge win, like 5K. And we were just talking about like 5K on DraftKings is like winning like the Millie Maker in Underdog. Like, it's so hard to win like the amount of money that you can on DraftKings that you can over here.
There is like, I obviously legitimately enjoy like the complex puzzle piece nature of a DFS slate, but there's something, I mean, what was so fun about best ball drafting season, right? Is it's infinite hope in potential every time you draft. Whereas DFS, you just get kicked fucking in the balls like time after time. With these, it's just like, oh, I drafted the most beautiful team. I drafted it is just psychologically a much more enjoyable experience.
The beautiful drafting and the addictive nature of it that you bring up is so apparent in the BRs, because that quick hit of dopamine in the 6 minutes to like draft this beautiful team and then be like, oh man, I was one piece away. Let me run it back. Oh, I was one piece away. Let me run it back. Like, over and over, right?
Well, and that's what I mean. I've been looking at some of these Nez screenshots, and like, trust me, I'm prone to galaxy braining. I mean, Nez getting on Mac Hollins, Josh Reynolds. I can't play those guys in DFS. I need to just come over to Battle Royale, be like, yeah, I'm willing to sacrifice 10 points of projection at wide receiver and just print like Nez. Like, my God.
Well, the TJ Hawkinson's a really good one, because like it was donk chalk in GPPs on DFS last week. And it was like, oh no, you only play him in cash. Like, he's going to be 35% owned. And then in the Battle Royale streets, it was like, oh man, he's going undrafted. So like porting this knowledge from one side to the other, like playing both sides of the aisle is really sharp for like just seeing the difference, right?
Well, and we talk about that even across DFS, right? Like arbitrage stuff of like, oh, I know even 1 week season does an article each week looking at the biggest gap in pricing from FanDuel to DraftKings and kind of finding like, hey, if you want to get your exposure to this guy, get it on this site. And now looking at, the Josh Reynolds, the Matt Collins, the TJ Hawkinson, maybe that is like a very simple heuristic of like the chalk guys who aren't going to get drafted because they're not going to project like the elites, but are clearly set up for success. Like, there has to be something there.
Yeah, I'm with you, especially whenever you have guys that are going to be so owned. Like, well, I guess like you said, just chalk, and the max own that you can have in our contests. I mean, like, you can project the field to have what is it, 1 divided by 6? What's that? 17% owned, like, for the field. Whereas like in DFS in these contests, it can be upwards of 50% sometimes. You got to think like, okay, well, there is some leverage there to get on those guys, knowing that. And that's at max 17. So
how do you guys think? Because that's obviously the thing. I mean, it's pretty conventional wisdom, I'm sure, for anyone watching this show who's been grinding those, that you're not even sacrificing many projected points to fade the guys that are getting drafted in most of the battle royales. You go a little off the board. I feel like that's conventional wisdom, but seeing your teams, Nez, has made me wonder, like, how far are you willing to push it? Because sometimes it's hard, like when guys like Devonta Smith or even a Rashad Bateman sometimes will go undrafted in these. And you're like, I'm going to go even further down. Like, how far are you willing to push that for the sake of getting unique?
Yeah, I would push it pretty far. However, it feels easier to do. And I said this on like one of our previous shows. It feels so much easier for me to do that in these 12-man lobbies, where now, like, okay, like you're fading, like now you kind of have to fade this game like a chalk game, because you're not going to be able to get concentrated pieces to it because of how big the lobbies are. And then that's where you can like take your shots at the unique guys, for me personally. Whereas when I do these $5 drafts, it's really hard for me to get off like the top 40 chalk in a lot of these, depending, obviously that'll vary slate to slate. But for me so far, I've done like 7 of these. I'm very concentrated as of now.
Yeah.
How are you guys thinking? Like when you go into ripping the battle royales, because I feel like there's lots of different thought processes, right? Because with so many of the games going overlooked just based on where the ADPs fall, you can go in ahead of time with a premeditated. It's not like a best ball draft where if you're going in being like, I want to get these guys, you're probably making suboptimal decisions. Like if you want to set up a contrarian game stack, you can kind of go into the draft knowing you want to do that. Or are you going through the draft trying to be like, I'm just trying to get the most perfect combination that no one else is going to be able to get because this one random guy slides? Or are you going in being like, oh, I just have this one-off piece that no one's drafting that I want to tack on? I'm like curious how you approach it from a mentality standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's the
yeah, go ahead.
I think that's the forever debate of these contests and why it looks so great right now. Like when you're drafting at volume, I think given the context of a room, I'll treat it like poker, where you look at the table and there's 6 players at that table. And if I deem the players to my right in the draft order are quote unquote weaker and or recreational, I will then push my boundaries of trying to obtain the nut chalk. Now, if that doesn't look the case and I look to my right and I see you and Nez sitting there, then all of a sudden, okay, I don't feel so bad getting a little weird in this one. And then I consult my charts of, okay, I like this game environment that's a non-chalk game. I like this game environment and kind of balance exposures in that capacity. But to be fair, in these contests, I think it's different than DFS, where I would feel quite uncomfortable not 150 maxing in some DFS contests, like large ones. In these, I feel perfectly fine just throwing in 10 contrarian builds in this. And I think that makes it a beautiful game because on Monday, like we had on, there's a long-standing thing that we're trying to set up where we'll have on the 50K winner on Monday if they want to come on. And just a guy came on and he's like, yeah, man, straight up, just like my name, just a guy built that shit on Saturday night on my phone, whatever, like 30 entries. And just found a way to get different and that sort of thing. Yeah, long-winded way to just say that I guess we're trying to do both, but I see a lot of merit in if you're low volume entering these contests to just get weirder and weirder and weirder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With the $5 contest, I mostly just kind of draft just like John said, just for the chalk, and then when I see like what people are gravitating towards, then that's when I like to get into those 12 mans and then pick my spots, so to speak. It was weird whenever Amon-Ra got rolled out and Hawkinson like didn't get any steam whatsoever, and that just like really confused me. And it just seems like with the Lions, anybody that it's just really next man up mentality there. Like the volume just seems like it seems like just very replaceable production, which is kind of like shocking when it comes to guys like Josh Reynolds doing that for you. Yeah. But that was just kind of the idea there. I will likely go back to these 12 mans like even more this week, just because of how good it felt in those lobbies.
Mm-hmm. And then to kind of go back to like comparing it to DFS and stuff, the thing that obviously tilts us so much is you make assumptions based on projected ownership. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. To this point, you get to almost react in real time to what the room is doing. Where if you think the chalk's getting jammed, all right, I'm going to go off the board. Oh, if I think value's slipping, I'm going to go here, which is a really fun way that you can kind of recalibrate your strategy individually for each contest in a way that you can't in DFS.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Herzig brought up a really nice point when we talked to him. I guess it was last week, midweek last week, and he built an ADP model on the stream, like live for us, and kind of estimating like how he could, how we could leverage this in terms of ownership. But we were thinking about that after, and we didn't articulate it that day, but as ADP pushes like to the end of the week, like there's definitely leverage in drafting with no ADP early in the week, but there's definitely leverage at the very end of the week when the ADP is pretty much quote unquote set, where, there's only 10,000 more entries to fill. So you can't really push the ADP too much with those remaining entries that you can just then go, okay, who's going undrafted? And that's how Nez lands on Josh Jacobs. Like Josh Jacobs is $5,500 like cash game chalk on DFS. And it's like, wait a second, he still has a 36.0 ADP in these 6-man drafts. okay, I'm gonna jump on that. So I think it's a really cool balancing act to go between the two formats and like just kind of like cross engineer strategies or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you guys at right now on like, you can obviously make arguments in either direction as far as correlation, game stacking, overstacking, because again, we've seen it play out in DFS where conventional wisdom is, hey, in this contest, you want to hit a 6-leg parlay, make sure you're hitting in the nuts at every spot. And yet now 2 out of the 4 weeks this season, we've seen one game on the slate be the game you need. So I'm curious where you guys are at on that.
I kind of feel the same way about that. Like this week for me, that's I'm really gravitating towards, just based on affordability and potential for that type of environment, is Cleveland and the Chargers. I feel like Chargers defense isn't very good right now, and you can get like Chubb and then also run it back with like 4 different Chargers, depending if you get lucky enough to get like Eckler as well with there. So I am gravitating more towards like onslaughts like that, like I guess you could say, with maybe like 1 or 2 one-offs, particularly if it's a game environment that has that high total but doesn't contain the nuts that are being like. That's what's really nice about these contests, is like you can just like identify prices immediately and be like, okay, I can get access to this game, and then I can rotate chalk in with it if I feel if I feel that confident about it.
That was like the thesis of last week with the Mark Andrews and Diggs or Allen or Lamar, where it's just kind of like, if that game flops, maybe we still want one piece of that game environment, and then we build out other games around that. And that's basically what won for just a guy Allen there last week, where it was like, hey, I'll get that mini stack of a game that's getting less touched in the Seattle and Detroit, but then my one-offs will be from that game environment, i.e. Allen, right?
Yeah. Yeah. What was the winning lineup last week again?
It was Allen, a low-owned Miles Sanders. I can't remember the second running back right now. I think it was Henry. Second running back might have been Henry.
I believe so.
Yeah, and then DK Metcalf, TJ Hawkinson, Mini, and then Devontae Adams.
And that line, you look at that line, sometimes say you look at a winning Millie Maker lineup and you're like, I'm never in a million years making that lineup. You're just like, that's just galaxy brain, never going to happen. With that lineup that you just listed, that's like an encouraging lineup, because I thought you were going to need to have Rashad Penny, Josh Jacobs, like a near perfect. And it's like, no, that was like a logical correlated lineup with some smart one-offs. And you're like, oh, I could build that lineup.
Yeah, it feels good to
There's
lose
hope
to something
for all
like
of
that.
us. Yeah.
It honestly
There's
does.
hope for all of us. To answer your question, Pete, like in terms of macro, I think I really gravitate to one skinny stack in almost all of it, and it being quarterback plus pass catcher. I'm not a huge proponent of running naked quarterback, but if I do, it'll be in a scenario where the ADPs are thrust up. Like there's 3 quarterbacks last week that were ADP 1 through 3, right? And in that environment, then I'll push it up then. Yeah.
How do you guys think that because that stood out to me when I saw that. Did
it
you
was
guys think
Eckler instead of Henry.
Oh, Eckler. Yeah. Similar idea though. Did you guys think that those 3 quarterbacks at the top, that represented an efficient ADP, or do you think that's the field overreacting to this macro trend that there's such a gap between the elite quarterbacks and the others?
For the early in the week, I thought it was efficient. Before like we had a clear idea of what the weather was going to be like, I thought that like, okay, like you need these guys. Like if you want to have access to first, like this environment looked insane. Like, and we've seen these guys put it like 40-40, and Josh Allen is like that entire offense. I felt that like, if anything, like maybe like Andrews should have been going over Lamar. I was taking Andrews more than I was a quarterback not named Josh Allen. But before the weather like became more clear that it was a problem, I thought it was efficient. What do you think, John?
I did not. I thought that I thought pieces from that game environment should be efficient. I didn't think the quarterbacks should have been thrust up in that regard. And I think like Diggs and Andrews should have been going first, and then it should have been a fight to pair them to double stack. But I thought there were other positional players that should have thrust up over those quarterbacks as well. And I think there should have been more combos of like Allen plus Diggs or Lamar plus Andrews because of it. And as a result, I ended up with 48% Andrews or something on the week, and yeah, that went great. Yeah, but but like it was kind of like my thought process was I wanted to attack the game environment, but I wanted the leverage of having the positional advantage of the tight end scorer in that environment, because Andrews was looking like just a wide receiver playing the tight end position, and nobody else really looked close that week. In my opinion, like it was kind of Waller, Pitts, and then you could randomize anybody after that. So for me, it was Andrews or bust early. I don't know. Yeah. That's good. Like looking towards that past slate, pushing into this week. Pete, have you done a little deep dive or whatever? I saw you talking a little bit of it up on Monday. Any game environments you're looking at, or anything in particular that stands out this week before looking at ADP?
Yeah, I mean, the one we were mentioning, or Nez mentioned the Lions before. I do think this is going to be the ultimate test of, because this is probably the worst possible spot you can imagine on the road at New England, outdoors after having 3 straight dome games. On the flip side, it seems like the fun could keep rolling for Seattle at New Orleans. That's a game. Obviously, Nez mentioned the Cleveland Chargers game. I have a feeling that is going to be popular. And then I feel like the Miami New York Jets game, I always listen to how the guys at 1 Week Season talk about game environments. I feel like the extremes on this one are massive. Like it could go way under the total, or Zach Wilson and Teddy Bridgewater just get into a gunfight. And I just love so many of the offensive pieces for that game. Like going back to, if you were to game stack a game, I mean, get your Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill, Waddle. Like this seems like a fun one to load up on.
Yeah, Leone threw out a tweet this morning about Breece Hall's usage being like the 3rd most encouraging in his usage model of like any player last week. Just like no joke, getting that receiving work and staying on the field at the goal line.
Yeah.
And if you're a film grinder too, he looks good doing it. Like he looks like he looks the part of a like a top 5 running back. He looks good.
And I was a pretty big Breece Hall bull, but even I thought it was going to.
You were.
Congrats. Yeah. Pat yourself on the back. Yeah. Come on.
No. I mean, come on.
No, there was some bad juju going on toward the end of draft season there for you. I mean,
I was drafting him being like, he's going to start doing this like week 12, week 13. And so it's just been the theme with all these rookies. Like they are taking off so quickly. I mean, George Pickens, talk about another guy whose just trajectory is insane right now. It's insane how many of these rookies are hitting.
Yeah, I've seen Pickens go over Deontay this week. I think I've done 10 or 11, and Pickens go over Deontay.
Is that? I don't even think that's crazy.
Me neither. I don't know. Like he clearly showed something rapport wise with the whole quote unquote second team offense, that sort of thing. And then Pickett comes in to throw to Pickens, right? Like that's going to be a tongue twister all week. No, I like that shout on the Miami game environment, because I think people are going to get skittish. They won't get skittish off of Tyreek, but people are already getting skittish off Waddle. And I think it's the whole Teddy factor. And we've seen Teddy play some ball in his day, right? Like how big is the perceived downgrade from Tua to Teddy, right?
There was a guy, I forget who, I feel silly for not knowing who it is. I'll have to look it up and get props later. He was like saying in his model that there was really like no difference between Tua and Teddy in his model, and that like the way that they play and their average at the target, it was going to like be a perfect fit and to step in to be a Tua replacement. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and we kind of got to see that in its form last game. So I would like to see Waddle get a little bit more usage there. But I agree. I think that this game could be a lot of fun, and it would be nice for Zach Wilson to like, because he didn't look bad in his first game. So
MILF Hunter.
Yeah, we'll see. I'd love for that to continue though, but I'm not super bullish about that by any means.
And like I'd much rather project Teddy to not be a big downgrade than to think like, oh, all of a sudden Arizona is going to figure it out versus Philadelphia. Because like I just look at a broken offense there and Philadelphia having a good defense, and to me that game looks like chalk game that people want pieces of, has a decent total that can just crater with a good defense and a bad offense. Whereas Miami, New York Jets, it's like you could just see the defenses becoming sieves there and it just going nutty.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good shout. Yeah, that's a good shout for sure. Let me now that now that we're already jumping on it, let me jump into some of this ADP, because you bring up a good point in terms of the Philadelphia Arizona game, because there's basically 6 players getting drafted from that game in every single draft. Like you have Goddard, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Sanders, and Hurts getting drafted under 36 ADP, and then Marquise Brown, Kyler, and Ertz on the other side going always. So to instantly pinpoint a game environment like that early in the week like this, I think is a very sharp point of leverage for us to then be like, okay, you know what? If I happen to fall on some Hurts, AJ Brown, just happens to fall to me at the 6-7 picks, like the 1-2 turn, like, yeah, I might hop on that, but just in a vacuum, like, I don't think I'll necessarily be thinking about it or targeting it given how high owned it already is, right?
Right. And how so even obviously with the quarterbacks, right? When Allen and Hurts go here, it means they're probably going to end up being in the most game stacks, just because anyone who takes Allen or Hurts is going to be looking to stack them. How much do you think that tracks over to the non-QBs? Like, do you think there's a correlation to, say, Cup, that people are going to be going out of their way to get a Dallas player to get these mini correlations? Or do you think people are willing to kind of just rock one-offs there at the top?
I think it's like our bubble thing. Like within our bubble, I think people are definitely looking at CD as like a bring back there. He kind of sits at the top of the queue in most of my drafts, and I still like him. It doesn't seem like Jalen Ramsey is necessarily like asserting much dominance this year, and he's definitely not like shadowing guys by the looks of it. So just for some like hand in the dirt type of analysis there, like I'm not really too scared about that matchup. And for whatever reason, the Cowboys just look to be like pretty efficient, even with Rush. So I wouldn't be afraid about bringing that back, but I don't think that the overall public is necessarily like shooting for that. I think that's probably just more of like our take or our circle. What do you think about that, John?
No, I tend to agree. I think it's definitely our circle, but it's definitely becoming more in terms of common knowledge. So this pushes into a topic that I wanted to ask you about, Pete, is we talk about one-offs at the back of the draft board, and there'll be some very good players late, but there'll be players like, here's Chris Godwin's a perfect example of a player this week. We love Godwin. Godwin's a very talented player, maybe one more week removed from the injury. Chris Godwin, most likely versus Atlanta, should not have a 33.5 ADP.
Yeah.
My problem with Chris Godwin is Tom Brady's going to be 100% owned this week. So how do we find a way to get different with our one-offs late in the draft? Like me going one-off Chris Godwin, can it get home? Yes, but that gives the Brady owner presumably with his Evans stacks points as well. So how can I differentiate? And it's going to guys that don't have the quarterback tied to them. So I think the way I'm starting to think about this game is that like a guy like Metcalf, even though he might not project as well as Godwin, or maybe let's pick someone deeper than Metcalf. Here, Amari Cooper. Maybe Amari Cooper doesn't project as well as Godwin. Maybe on the surface he isn't as good a play as Godwin this week, but I would rather draft Cooper than Godwin for that reason. Do you tend to agree with that line of thinking, or do you see something different?
I do, but does that mean then you're kind of like full fading like the Brady stuff? Because obviously any of the other pass catchers you'd be interested in are going to be 100% owned as well, right? I guess maybe not Julio.
Yeah, I think I don't think it would imply that I'm full fading. It would be when I have Godwin, I have Brady, and I would use him as a tandem piece only because the quarterback's high owned. I think that just kind of how I'm thinking out loud about this game. And none of this shit's definitive, right? Like we're going to talk through this stuff, and that's what makes this game beautiful is it's unsolved. We're going to talk through all this stuff, but it's just one thought I've been having recently.
Well, one thing that's interesting with that is because I think like conventional wisdom would be you would want your one-off at the top of the board because those are the guys that have the volume and the talent to produce even in game scenarios where the entire game doesn't get nutty. Whereas when you're Josh Reynolds and Matt Collins hit, that game is probably getting there. And yet it's obviously easier to get unique at the end of drafts and go off the board there. So how do you guys think of, a unique piece Are you willing for it to not be in a game environment that you're stacking, I guess?
I think that I look at it kind of with my unique pieces. I look at them to like give me like 20 points. Like I try to give like each of these guys like a number and like what I need them to hit in order to win the whole thing. And usually these one-off pieces, like I was not expecting Josh Jacobs to give me 30 points. I wanted him to get me like 20 points, and then maybe Derrick Henry goes off, and then those other guys can just get me like a nice like 20, and I can get in the running, and then one guy goes off, and it turned out to be Jacobs there. I like to get like a little bit of chalk here, and then like you said, mix up like later in the draft with some of these game stacks, and vice versa as well. Like just get like 4 or 5 pieces of chalk, and and then try to get unique at that very last pick. Is my preference is to just like load up on chalk and then get unique at that last spot. The way that I've been doing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's going to be a great debate over the next while until we have a big enough sample to talk about this. Do we want to just go with like the highest projected players in the highest projected total games, or are we looking to get crazy different? And I think the debate will surround around, is 30 points of an 80% owned Chris Godwin better than 20 points from a 12% owned insert player name? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like the raw points are obviously better, but what does more for your ability to win the tournament? The unique points? I don't know.
In the other thing of thinking, I mean, what we've already talked about, how just psychologically it's hard for us to go really off the board with picks, and because we get naturally anchored to the ADP. We also have said if you're going to sacrifice projection, do it at the end of your draft. I almost feel like that's now kind of like the default comfy, I'm playing this correctly, but how unique is it now? Where think about how uncomfortable it would have felt to take Rashad Penny and Geno Smith and Josh Reynolds and DK. Sure, you take DK Metcalf with it's like every one of those picks gets like exponentially more uncomfortable, but you're targeting a game that no one's getting. To me, I'm like, and you're talking about getting mega unique in these, it's still a very top heavy prize pool. It almost feels like that is the play of like, literally, do you just flip the board on its head and just draft whatever targeting a game?
Did you say, what did you say there, sir? Did you say
flip the board on its head?
No. Come on. Give us what the people want to hear.
There's slates that gets flipped on its head. There's a battle royale board that gets flipped on its head.
Oh, make the t-shirts, print the t-shirts. Let's go. Flip the board's been flipped. The board's been flipped on its head. Let's go. Willis knows. That's good. To your point of that, like talking to a game environment, that just to go back to that Miami and the Jets game, the parallels to the Seattle Lions game from last week are definitely there, where it's like, yeah, you know what? I want to click a one-off Amon-Ra St. Brown. I want to click a one-off Hawkinson. I wanted to click, maybe I'll get cute and I'll go Goff plus Reynolds, but nobody wanted to go jump the whole threshold of the ADP and take all the Lions stack, right? Well, I could foresee something very similar this week with, people want a piece of Tyreek, and then maybe late in the week, I'm going to get a little cute and I'll add Garrett Wilson, but nobody's going to want to go Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Zach Wilson, like, you know what I mean? And these combinations that we can build up. So I do think that's a very sharp point in general.
And imagine, again, kind of to try to draw parallels to DFS, like I would equate these contests as if you were playing with like a $60,000 or $65,000 salary cap on DraftKings.
Okay.
And what would the field do in that situation? You would have so many Josh Allen double stacks. You'd have so many Jalen Hurts double stacks. You'd get the top running backs in there because it's just like, I have all this money. I want to get the studs in. And if you built that game stack last week with a 65,000 cap, it probably would have cost you like 40,000. You're like, am I really leaving $25,000 salary on the table? And so in these contests, it's like, I think you're willing to leave $20,000 salary or that much ADP you're willing to hemorrhage because the uniqueness value is so massive. And you really are at just having to get one thing right.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And the thing about these contests is you do not have to get as many variables correct as you do in DFS because they're only 6-player rosters.
Exactly.
Right? Like we can just fall on a game stack that outscores the chalk game stack by accident in some regard, because you only have to get 2 other components of it right. You don't have to get 4 or 5. Like the person who was, duping himself 40 times for the Millie Maker last week, like he had to get every variable correct in a 9-man build, right? Like, yeah. Anyways, the one thought when we were talking about that is we don't even have to go that deep in the player pool to just go back to the Godwin example with like Julio Jones. Like he's still a talented player in a decent role. In a vacuum, would we prefer Godwin? Of course, but it's not like, we're not sacrificing so much that we're going to Cole Beasley or Russell Gage or something like this, right? And yeah, instant ways to get unique there. What do you guys say we just talk through this on the fly and jump in 1 or 2 drafts and call her there?
Yeah, let's get in it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Just looking at the totals this week, yeah, I'm a little surprised that the Cardinals-Eagles game is as high as it is. Like, I hope that continues to gain some steam, because I'm probably not going to be touching that a whole lot. The Eagles side, I'm getting to, but that Cardinals team, I'm with you. They just look Andrew.
This
there.
is the marketing genius, the marketing geniuses of Underdog right here. The shirts are already coming.
They've already got it. They've already found the draft board in their database. They're putting it on t-shirts as we speak.
Let's go. Oh yeah, Willis Newby's in there.
Yeah, where's Newmy? I thought he was a regular co-host.
Yeah.
We don't have the 4-person layouts yet. Our guy on Fiverr, we fired him. He's gone. He's out of here.
I gave him a 2-star review. Like I iced him and then put a rush order on another one, and it's like we got no overlays for 4 and stuff.
Newby's not here because they couldn't sacrifice the overlays. So if you're ranking the importance of people to this operation, you have John, you have Nez, you have the overlays, and then you have Newby. At least he got in the draft.
Oh my God! Newby
knows how important he is to this operation.
Oh,
he's on next. We got way more. I guess if you're gonna rank them in terms of like winnings in their life, I guess A-list guests coming that Newmy. I'm tagging out for Newmy for. So he's getting.
Who do you guys like at the 2 here? Do we want to touch the quarterbacks? Do we want to jump on one of these early pass catchers?
Let's get crazy. Let's go Tyreek Hill. Let's start to flip this board.
Oh shit!
Okay,
I love it.
You love to see it.
We got the Badge Bros in here. I see Willis. I see Newmy.
Yeah, we really bring them out whenever we get Pete in here.
Yeah, normally we're accustomed to these soft drafts. 15 to 20 viewers, a little happy zone there. Pete comes on, he brings everybody with him.
Do you have any favorite off the board plays yet, John? I don't know how much you've been drafting, like if you've given that much thought, but I've got a couple.
I got a couple guys late that I've been targeting and don't mind late swapping off of. Is I've been eating a little bit of Alvin Kamara late, and some Amon-Ra St. Brown. Both of them getting in the 6th round, basically.
Yeah,
and yeah.
So I assume Kamara's going undrafted in these.
More or less. I've seen him go once or twice.
His ADP, I think, is like 36.0 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, talk about, hammering recency bias. I mean, how many people didn't even start him at season long because they were sleeping? No one wants anything to do with him.
It's insane,
I will tell you my favorite 2-man mini stack of the week after Silas picks here, though.
Okay.
So far. And it's a gross game environment, and it's not that pretty, and both teams might play slow and their defenses might be really good, but just like he takes one piece of it.
McCaffrey.
The McCaffrey Samuel at the 2-3 turn has been one of my favorites so far. Pete, who you like here?
Well, now that I have in my head, I just kind of want to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I love it.
I like it. Sure.
Are we thinking bring back eventually, or
for sure?
Okay.
I think that's what we want to do.
Oh yeah.
In terms of roster construction, Pete, where have your eyes been gravitating towards, like 2 running back? We've kind of been treating the running back as a onesie position. Do you feel similarly?
Think about who you're asking that
Yeah,
question,
okay,
and I
yeah,
assume it's
yeah.
rhetorical.
All right. Missed it. The leader of the Piss Boys. The leader of the
I was
Piss
just-
Boys wants 2 running backs this week.
What
Do
do
you
you
guys
I
want
didn't
to
even
take?
know. You
You
I'll
wanna
let you
take
do.
our-
I've already blown this up so much.
I'm kind of cool just doing like a one-off, like take our
Yeah.
guy.
Sure.
Which one you want? Okay.
You pick.
Yeah. I prefer CMC
Um,
this week.
I
so
kind
far.
of like that. I kind of like CMC with the Niners just because the Niners pass rush has been like so severe that I think it could be dump off city for our boy CMC, and
Mhm.
he's just a good football player. But the Niners
Yeah.
defense looks legit, so we're praying for a ton of volume with that pick.
Mhm.
I would say one of the things for construction is early on, I was definitely gravitating to trying to get the elite tight ends. I was taking Mark Andrews at 101 this past week, but now with seeing Waller, Kittle struggle, obviously Pitt's struggling, it's like making me start to even rethink that too, where now I'm like, I'd just rather punt it off if you don't get Andrews.
Yeah, your tweet the other day about Kyle Pitts is a hilarious bit. Just like at this point, like what the hell are we doing?
The grandma
so
in the
sad.
cage is iconic now.
Yeah. Everyone knows. You don't even have to tweet context with it now. Everyone just knows it's for Kyle Pitts.
Exactly. But yeah, I definitely find myself gravitating to 1, 1, 3, 1, and it's hard not to do. I don't force bringbacks at all, but I generally end up liking having a double stack, and I like having 2 players from another game. But again, I feel like I'm a pretty good like bellwether or barometer for like what the average badge bro is like wanting to do, and so that's why I have to force myself out of even that comfort zone.
It's tough.
Yeah, I respect that. I got a player in mind right here.
All right, as long as this team definitely needs Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. That's the only thing I'll say. Anything else?
Well, we can't have both.
Oh, you're
It
right.
has to be one.
Well, we
or the
can only
other.
do one.
So our bringback's going to be single. I imagine our quarterback's going to be Teddy, unless
then probably Breece,
Conklin,
right?
But
so I think
that's a net special right there. Yeah, I like that.
And then, I mean, I gravitate towards that there. And then I don't think we really have to worry about the order in which we draft the next 2. I think Teddy Bridgewater is more important to our roster, so I'd lean taking Bridgewater first. But I kind of like, if you go onslaught from one game environment, I do kind of like having this mini, especially with the tight end running back. I think tight end running back makes more sense from a correlation standpoint than we're just going to do Teddy.
Yeah, do Teddy.
And then we wait on Breece instead of waiting on Teddy. What kind of balls do we got?
Well, okay. My thought
worried about
process
Teddy
there,
getting sniped from.
Well, we
Willis.
can get. That's true.
My thought process to that is like, I don't think Teddy will ever get sniped. I don't think any of them will get sniped. But my thought process is this team is dead without Teddy. This team is still live if it has Garrett Wilson or Elijah Moore or Breece Hall or even Michael Carter over that. But our team's dead without Teddy.
Nez, I know you're new to streaming, but never underestimate the bit equity that someone in a draft can get when it's being streamed with sniping you. Never underestimate it.
Yeah. I need to take notes.
Willis was going to go Mike Gesicki and Teddy Bridgewater at the turn there instead of Goff and Hawkinson.
Yeah, he would do it. He's a little mad at me last night. We were in a pennant stream together or a pennant draft together, and I took one of his stacks. He let me have it for that. I had to issue an apology.
That's funny.
I have
What do you guys like?
I like Breece for this construction, right? Like I think we want the Jets succeeding on the ground and then Teddy hair on fire coming back. Yeah.
I agree with that line of thinking for sure.
I wanted to ask you, what do you guys think of, so obviously the early drafters are kind of setting ADP. And then I felt like and I think you mentioned this, that there's a huge like anchoring inertia effect to that early ADP, where again, people don't want to deviate from it much. So then the question is, because the people I assume drafting early are sharp drafters, do you think they're setting efficient ADP, or do you think whatever gets set at the start is probably not as dynamic as it should be relative to news and changing slate dynamics?
the latter.
Yeah. I do think it's tough with this slate. However, like I wouldn't pay too much attention to ADP just because of how flat. Like there's hardly any tiers in this slate. I feel like with Cup, Diggs, and Jefferson being like their own tier, and then you can throw Tyreek Hill in there. But after that, things feel like very flat to me. So I just have no problem like going down the board here and kind of like ignoring that ADP. But it does feel like you said, like this will not change very much unless we get like Amon-Ra active news. He's gonna fly up. But we need like good reports.
Because it even hard, even staring at the 3 quarterbacks at the top last week when I was like, I don't know if this is how it should be. And then it's almost easy to capitulate too. Cause you're like, well, if I want exposure to these guys, I have to do it here anyway.
Exactly. So I was like,
what do you guys like here?
Giving it to, yeah.
You like something like that, or you want to get weirder?
I like Diggs.
Yeah, let's do Diggs.
I think Steelers are absolute toast this week. It's okay. They beat Josh Allen last year, I believe it was. People forget game 1, or maybe it was 2 years ago. They kind of shocked and shocked the nation and beat the Bills, but they just look so automatic. The Steelers are going to get crushed.
Pete, is capitulate the new combinatorial ownership?
It is,
which is then the new week 17 correlation.
Yeah, capitulate is the buzzword. There was another one that someone had been saying a bunch recently that I had filed away. It'll come to me in a second. But yeah, I think capitulate got popularized with the Leone and Silva man versus machine battles this summer.
The man versus machine.
No,
what do you guys like?
Null hypothesis is the new one that I've been hearing a bunch lately. I don't know if that one's gonna go mainstream though.
Oh my
8 seconds. Yeah. What do you guys like?
I like Brown or Debo. We'll make this a chalk draft, and then we'll get crazy.
Let's do this.
We'll get crazy late.
Let's do this on the fleeting hope that this comes back.
So on the Diggs one, Diggs does seem like kind of like the perfect one-off here, as opposed to if you wanted to avoid Steelers where they're going to be really thin. We know he can dominate target share. You look at like the stats of Buffalo defense against opposing quarterbacks. Like I love Kenny Pickett, but this is going to be brutal. Like you could see their offense creating and Diggs still having a massive game.
Yeah, especially with Crowder hurt and McKenzie in the concussion protocol. We're on the clock here.
I'm
scared about Lenny now.
I kind of like this.
Dalvin?
I think Dalvin's underappreciated this week, and I think Dalvin's good leverage off Jefferson going in the first round. So if you take Diggs in the first, I think it makes sense to have leverage Dalvin. I kind of just talked us off the clock. My bad.
I'm not opposed. We can do that.
It was just like a thought process thing. I don't think the shoulder's as big a deal that he played through last week, wore the harness, blah, blah, blah. I think that game environment sucks, and it can probably be really slow and both run heavy on both sides. But that doesn't mean Dalvin can't get 20 touches and get in the end zone twice, right?
Yeah.
So this is a good spot, like where obviously you want to stack your quarterback. That's not viable for either of our pass catchers. We know it doesn't look like we're going to want anything on the. I mean, I assume Kyler to Marquise is like chalk around AJ Brown. Like, how are you thinking about setting up a stack here?
I lean back stack with tight end is my first like intuition, is like, let's get our tight end paired to somebody, opposed to running a one-off, because I don't really see a tight end here in this game environment that would correlate with this. So I'd like to stack it with the pass catcher. I also don't mind this and then like Godwin late, and then you get the leverage off the Evans. I don't know.
Yeah. I've been doing, when I get Diggs too, if I was going to run it back, like doing it with Freiermuth. Yeah. He got kind of targeted pretty heavily by Pickett, and they're going to be throwing a lot. So just as like a pure volume play there. But
to be honest, I maliciously set this up in my mind like a round and a half ago to force Pete into Kyle Pitts bring back in the 6th round right here.
Is Kyle Pitts going undrafted?
Yes. He's gone undrafted a handful of times.
He
just went. He just went.
We can't. The Badge Bryce draft.
Yeah, come on now.
You can't talk through it, but I've seen him go undrafted like twice now.
So
Well,
I was going
hang
to
on.
go ahead, Pete.
Can't we just draft the Falcons tight end, Parker Hesse or whatever?
Andrew Mackin's Underdog employee had a good question in here talking about stacking RBs with wide receivers. This is the one game that I would do it with. We don't have to, since we need to stack Brady, but I would absolutely put Diggs and Singletary on the same team against the Steelers this week.
Is there a tight end that jumps off the board to you guys right here, or can we just go ahead and take Godwin and get that stack we intended?
I think we should.
I think we lock up Godwin. Yeah.
Okay.
I do like Julio too. Silas mentioned him as a one-off, but
so man, I feel for you, Pete, because like we're drafting, we're talking, and then I'm noticing like the chat and stuff like this, and like when I'm watching your streams, I'm like, what the shit, Pat? Like, Pete, that was funny as hell. Like, why aren't you giving me a little props there? And I was like, man, I can't even keep up with like 30 viewers and like these things. I can't even read the comments.
Your failed preface there is that you said something funny in the chat, but yes, it is very impressive how I'm able to judge.
Okay, like
easy gloss over.
Let's go off the board at tight end here, right? Because
sure.
Most of these guys in this construction overall, I don't think is too unique.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could do the Freiermuth thing.
The Freiermuth things make sense.
Yeah. I kind of like that. Disley, they've got a little high point total there, or Taysom. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I guess we're running it back.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. We'll do this. We'll run it back here. I think Freiermuth will chalk up some ownership, and I think it'll primarily be as a bring back. So maybe that gets a little chalky, but I think people don't really want to touch it. But the thing about Taysom that's weird is I'm feeling very optimistic. I noted Kamara. Pete, you got time for one more? About 8 minutes?
Yep.
Okay. Let's do it. I noted Kamara earlier. Latavius Murray goes back to the practice squad. Then he gets pulled off, goes to Denver, right?
Yeah.
Like, if Kamara doesn't go this week, Tony Jones Jr. was inactive last week and was hurt. So it's kind of like Ingram and what, right? And now is it all of a sudden Ingram and a little bit of Taysom? Like, who knows, right? I don't know. It's just kind of like one of those galaxy brain. Yeah. I mean, if Tony Jones is healthy enough, maybe Tony Jones is healthy enough, and that's why they put Latavius back on the practice squad, and then he went to Denver. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, right?
Yeah. That's. I mean, you could definitely. I will never at this point bet against Taysom Hill getting involved in the offense. I mean, this guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away, man. It's always there.
Oh, man. This is nice. We rolled the 105, so we roll a different draft slot. So maybe we can find a different construction or at least different players to build around.
I do have a running back I'd like us to snag. Maybe we can even get absolutely insane and go in on this game is the Jags and the Texans. I kind of want Dameon Pearson on my team. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that he's been just such a workhorse for them.
Someone tweeted that rushing share, that he was like one of the only players in the last couple years to have 100% team rushing share in a week.
Alpha, absolute alpha.
Holy smokes!
Love it. Yeah.
The problem is the trailing game script and the pass down work. Like they're still using Burkhead, right?
Yeah, Burkhead's still. Yeah. He's still there. He's still there. Mm-hmm. It's just the hope that he can get in the end zone twice and give you like 60 yards.
And I also think too, if you would have had someone on the Jags pop off last week, then you set up the obvious mini stack. All right, I'm going to get my Christian Kirk, Dameon Pierce, where that doesn't feel good coming off of that week.
Yeah, there's a reason why I'm like, oh, well, what do you guys think? I'm testing the waters here. It's not it's not sexy.
What do you guys think about getting a little different here, just for the sake of the stream, and doing something like this?
Yeah, I can always get down for a Jalen Hurts stack. That's talk about feeling good. That feels so.
I feel like we're due for the just absolute AJ Brown eruption. Like everyone realizes this is great pairing, great offense. AJ Brown's been rock solid, but like we haven't had the 102 tutty game yet that we know he can do.
Yeah, I like that call.
On like 4 catches, he's just absolute grown man shit.
Yeah. Grown ass man.
And that Cardinals defense obviously is not really like scaring me at all. But
yeah. Well, and this might be a place where, okay, say we do have a chalk stack. We know lots of people are going to run this back with either Ertz or Marquise Brown. Maybe this is where we kind of say, all right, what if we don't have a 3rd round pick? And what if we have 2 4th round picks or 2 5th round picks? And you go and get like your guy, Dameon Pierce. Like, I guess I'm just trying to think it through of like, how do we play this out in a way that most people aren't going to finish this stack?
I think that's the right line of thinking for sure. Like let's get weird with 2 4th round guys here and kind of ignore the top of the board unless something insane falls to us.
Silas recommending Rondale, but I don't know that I can do Rondale yet.
Man, yeah, give me some of that 3-yard A dot, 1.6 A dot or some crap. Who knows, man?
Wow, Kamara replacement. Okay.
Yeah, raise it going Kamara at 12. I mean,
what was his first pick?
That's a good question. Cooper Kupp.
Okay. Yeah, that's one thing that right now Kupp is like an ADP of 2.3. He's gonna like quickly change to the 1 overall very soon.
Man, even when Stafford looks as bad as he did last night, he just gets peppered. Like 10 catches in the first half, or 10 targets in the first half, 9 catches, something like that.
See this, I'm looking at this board here, and outside McCaffrey, like I see basically no opportunity cost to scrolling to something off the screen right now.
Yep. Fully agree with your line of thinking.
I do really like Jamal Williams if Swift isn't playing, but
okay. Well, I think let's think about this in terms of McCaffrey is going to be unique enough with this combo because later in the week, I don't think he should fall this far as well. So I think we just go ahead and take CMC in the 3rd round forever until we're told to do otherwise. Right? Like, you know what I mean?
His floor is like double-digit points. That's not going to, like I've talked about before, it's not going to bury you. You're still going to be live if Christian McCaffrey doesn't score 30.
Yeah, and now let's get crazy weird and scroll down.
The temptation is to take Marquise Brown here. That's what most people are doing with this stack.
That's the easy pick, right? What do you guys think about that?
Give you a swap option.
Swap option, yeah.
Yeah, no.
That one seems
man, here's another point. Like, obviously we're streaming and we're talking through it and stuff like that, but these 30-second shot clocks in 6-man's drafts, like they come at you, right? Like we don't have a round to talk about this stuff. So when you're sitting at home and you're just doing one on your phone, half distracted, girlfriend's talking in your ear, wife's talking to you, and you just yeah. And then you just pick between the top 4 guys at the ADP, right?
Another bad premise, assuming your audience has wives and girlfriends, John.
I'm speaking specifically to you two. Specifically to you two.
when I'm drafting on hard mode and I'm listening intently to a story while also asking follow-up questions at the same time, it's just like you're drafting. But now that I won, like she's like, okay, like you're clocked in.
Oh, that's all I need to do is finally win something, eh? That's all
She wants me to retire her.
Oh, that's great.
Instead of vice versa right now.
Okay,
are you going to tell your overlay guy to not have the logo blocking the your team board here on his next design?
Oh, that's tough. Oh my god. Well, I mean, the next one's at my mercy, like because this guy's fired, man. He's out.
Yeah. We got a
he's
new
never
interview
seen
process
any more
and everything.
freelance. Yeah, I even pay. I mean, it cheeses my ass because I paid the extra 15 for that express order, so it'd be here yesterday.
Express order, we should have Numi here, is what you're trying to say.
That's what I'm trying to say. Hey, but we did Numi a solid, and we just switched the days that were going to work better. So we're kicking Nez tomorrow for Liam. So Liam's on tomorrow, and
wow,
Nez
what a
is
downgrade.
Later.
I mean, you just got to get 60 minutes of Gabe Davis cope from him. I mean, what's the point of booking Liam right now?
You know what? I thought about asking Eric to come on at the same time and just let them talk about Gabe Davis and then remove ourselves from the stream, right?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
All right, so
okay, let's.
I love Newbie in both of these drafts. He's like the Zach Woods gif from Silicon Valley, where he's just like peering through the blinds out the window.
Still here. All right.
Oh, I feel so bad.
I'm thinking. I don't know how many people are going to have Njoku with this, and I kind of like him in this game against the Chargers, where I think the Chargers are going to run up on him.
Okay.
What do you think? Is that far enough down the board?
Seems like it.
Okay, let's talk about something here too, because I think natural to go with Njoku, like we have this available because he's already taken 3 wide receivers, and I think this is going to be a really natural pairing. And then I don't think this roster is as unique as we intend it to be.
Yeah, but
We gotta
Mike
think
Williams
about-
falling this far is like kind of nuts.
What about that? Okay, yeah. There's also the narrative for that too. And we don't have to correlate. We can pick somebody else too.
I like it because usually the Herbert team takes Williams like very, very often. And I say that because I'm usually taking Herbert and Williams very,
5 seconds,
often.
Pete, you got anything?
Yeah, I like Mike Dub. Let's do it.
Okay.
That's why this does put your mind in a blender, like you said, because you're also trying to anticipate what is the ADP movement and what is the stuff that's not going to be possible later in the week. But that also makes it hard because we've also talked about how anchored people get. So even if you think efficiently they should move up, like CMC, like, I mean, what news realistically is going to move CMC up more?
I really don't think much in these lobbies right now, unless. Well, Waddle going that early by Numi is definitely like an aberration. That normally
he got influenced by some streamers in a draft before.
Yeah. Oh, you love to see it.
Yeah, I like that team. I like how we attack that. I do like Keenan Allen too, though, because we've been talking about it more and more lately about giving yourself swap options to by taking, it's just double leverage either way with these guys that are truly questionable. So I do think Keenan Allen is someone that we should be taking more and more. And
I think he was pretty close to playing last week. So it
seemed like it. It seemed like it.
Coaches said he was day to day, was the report today. So I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I like that. That's been great. Great to have you, Pete. This was a great show. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Do you want to plug your Venmo so I can send you $5 and make sure I rightfully have my stake in these squads?
No, right. You know what? Actually, Venmo doesn't work in Canada. True story.
Free healthcare, but no Venmo. What's going on?
Yeah, nobody's got to send anybody any money. Everything's free, man.
What do we got to do? What Western Union you? Like, what do you guys got?
I got to walk down to the 7-Eleven. I got to pick up that 5 sheet, and then I got to convert it, and then it'll be like $7.50. Pete's paid for 2 teams with one $5 bill that he sent my way.
Wow.
Oh, man. There. Oh, hey, come on now. It's beautiful. Anyways, Pete, thank you so much for doing this. Carving out an hour of your day for us. This was great. We'll have you back anytime you're willing to join. This was great. And I actually want to say thanks. We said it yesterday at the top of yesterday's show, but we got a couple more viewers right now. Thank you to Underdog for giving us the show. Thank you to Rudman for reaching out. Andrew for reaching out, Hayden Winks for reaching out and shouting us out. I mean, they've been nothing but kind to us, and this has been a very fun start to what we hope is a longer ride.
Wait. When do we have a Badge Bros promo code yet?
We have a meeting tomorrow.
Talk soon.
To discuss
Talk soon.
Yeah, price is going up. They snuck me in here, get the average view count a little higher, help out the negotiation table.
We were worried you would be a little nervous coming on a big show like this, Pete. We didn't know how you would react. Like with the lights so bright on you.
It's the stepping stone to fame. People are calling it the stepping stone. I mean, Corain comes on the Friday, the following week, all of a sudden he's on Matthew Barry's happy hour. I mean, people are saying, man,
Corain brings the clicks. Corain brings
the clicks. Yeah, and he brings the knowledge too in a big way.
He should bring the guitar out more often is what I think. That would really just blow things
Honestly,
up.
It was astounding how quality his voice was. You know what I mean?
Angelic, like the Beatles and Jesus.
Oh, you love it. Pete, thank you so much for being here. Time for everybody's favorite part of the show, the end. Thank you, guys.